when silence spoke louder than words. The observation deck of Station Epsilon 9 offered the best view in the sector. Commander Sarah Chen stood there most nights, watching ships arrive and depart like fireflies dancing in the void. Tonight felt different. Tonight, the stars seemed to hold their breath. "Commander, you need to see this." Lieutenant James Rodriguez's voice cracked through her communicator, urgent and confused. Sarah turned from the viewport and headed toward the command center. Her boots clicked against the metal floor with steady rhythm. After 15 years in deep space, she had learned to read urgency in people's voices. This was something new. The command center buzzed with activity. Screens displayed data that made no sense. Energy readings that shouldn't exist. A signal that defied every law of physics humanity had discovered. "What am I looking at?" Sarah asked, studying the main display. "A distress call," James replied, pulling up the translation. "But it's not like anything we've ever received." The language translated instantly, perfectly, as if it knew we'd be listening. Sarah read the message aloud. "Help. They are coming. They will not stop. You are the only ones who can fight without fear." "Who sent this?" she asked. "That's the strange part." James highlighted a section of data. The signal came from the void sector. No one lives there. No one can live there. The radiation alone would kill any known species within hours. Sarah felt a chill run down her spine. The void sector had been mapped 300 years ago and immediately declared forbidden. Ships that entered never returned. Probes lost contact within minutes. It was the one place in explored space that remained completely unknown. "There's more," James continued, his fingers dancing across the console. "The signal specifically mentions humans. By name. It says, only humans can survive what is coming. The Council's fear." Within 6 hours, Sarah stood before the Galactic Council. The massive chamber held representatives from 47 species, each more advanced than humanity. The Cruelty with their crystal bodies that processed information faster than computers. The Velm with their telepathic networks spanning star systems. The ancient Sorrow who had explored the galaxy for 10,000 years. They all looked afraid. Commander Chen, the Cruelty representative, spoke, his voice like wind chimes. "Your species received the same message we did. We must discuss what it means." "You all received it?" Sarah was surprised. The message had seemed directed at humanity alone. "Yes," the Velm ambassador responded, her mental voice touching everyone's thoughts simultaneously. "But only the portion about humans. The rest was encrypted using mathematics we cannot solve. Mathematics that should not exist." A hologram appeared in the center of the chamber. It showed the void sector, but with new information. Something was moving through it. Something massive, leaving dead stars in its wake. "The Harvesters," the ancient Sorrow delegate whispered, its elderly form trembling. "We thought they were myths. Stories told to frighten young civilizations into behaving." "What are they?" Sarah asked. "Death," the Sorrow replied simply. "They consume everything. Energy, matter, thought itself. They have ended civilizations older and greater than any of us. And they are coming here." Sarah studied the hologram. The path was clear. The Harvesters would reach inhabited space in 3 months. Every world, every station, every living thing would be in their path. "Why do they think humans can fight this?" she asked. The chamber fell silent. Finally, the Cruelty spoke. "Because of what you are. Because of what you lack. What makes humans different?" "Explain," Sarah demanded. The Velm ambassador gestured, and new images appeared. Human soldiers in combat. Human explorers in impossible situations. Human scientists solving problems that should have been unsolvable. Every advanced species in this galaxy evolved beyond certain traits, the Velm explained. We eliminated aggression through genetic engineering. We removed the capacity for violence from our thoughts. We evolved past the primitive need to fight. But humans didn't, the cruelty added. You reached the stars with all your ancient instincts intact. The ability to feel rage. The willingness to die for others. The capacity to face impossible odds without surrendering. Sarah felt something stir in her chest. Pride mixed with understanding. You're saying we're the only species crazy enough to fight. Crazy enough to win, the sorrow corrected gently. The harvesters feed on fear. They grow stronger when their prey runs. But humans. The ancient being's eyes glowed softly. Humans do not know when to run. Sometimes, you fight when logic says you should flee. Sometimes, you win when mathematics says you should lose. We need you to enter the void sector, the cruelty said. Find whoever sent that message. Learn how to stop what is coming. And if I refuse? Sarah asked, though she already knew her answer. Then 47 civilizations die, the Velm replied simply. Billions of beings, erased from existence. We can evacuate some, but not enough. The harvesters move too fast. The volunteer mission. Sarah returned to Station Epsilon 9 and called for volunteers. She expected maybe a dozen. 300 people showed up. You understand this is likely a one-way trip, she told them. The void sector has killed everyone who entered. A young pilot named Marcus stepped forward. Then we'll be the first to come back. A scientist named Dr. Yuki Tanaka raised her hand. The math in that message. I've been studying it. It's beautiful. I need to know who wrote it. An old Marine named Patterson just shrugged. Served 40 years. Might as well make them count for something. Sarah looked at the faces before her. Different ages, different backgrounds, different reasons for being there. But all sharing one thing, the absolute certainty that running was not an option. We leave in 72 hours, she announced. Prepare your goodbyes. Tell your families you love them. And remember, whatever we find in that void, we face it together. The journey begins. The ship was called the Defiant. Sarah thought the name was fitting. It was humanity's newest deep space vessel, equipped with shields that might withstand the void sector's radiation for a few days. Maybe. As they prepared to depart, the other species sent messages. The cruelty provided mathematical models of the harvesters' movements. The Velm shared telepathic techniques for resisting mental attacks. The sorrow gifted them with star charts older than human civilization. Why are they helping us? Marcus asked as he ran pre-flight checks. Because they're terrified, Sarah replied, watching the alien ships maintain a respectful distance. And hope is better than despair. The countdown reached 0. The Defiant's engines roared to life, burning brighter than the stars around them. Sarah took one last look at civilized space, at the stations and ships that represented thousands of years of progress and peace. Then she turned toward the void. All hands, she spoke into the ship-wide comm. We are about to enter unknown space to face an impossible enemy. I won't lie to you. Our chances are terrible. The odds say we should fail. She paused, feeling the weight of every life aboard her ship. But odds don't know humans. Numbers don't understand what we're capable of when we choose to stand instead of run. Whatever waits for us in that darkness, we will face it with courage, with intelligence, and with the absolute refusal to surrender. Helm, she ordered. Take us in. The Defiant jumped to hyperspace, leaving safety behind and plunging toward the one place in the galaxy that promised only death. Behind them, 47 species watched and waited, placing all their hope in the one race crazy enough to fight the unbeatable. The humans had entered the void. What lurks in darkness? First contact with fear. The void sector swallowed them whole. One moment, stars surrounded the Defiant on all sides. The next, absolute darkness pressed against their viewports like a living thing. Radiation levels are. Dr. Tanaka's voice trailed off as she studied her instruments. Commander, this shouldn't be possible. The radiation is intense enough to kill any known biological life, but it's not affecting us. Sarah frowned. Life support status? All systems normal, Lieutenant Rodriguez reported. Shields are holding, but they shouldn't need to. It's like something is protecting us. A soft chime echoed through the bridge. The communication station lit up with activity. We're receiving a signal, the comm officer announced. Audio only. It's coming from somewhere ahead. Put it through, Sarah ordered. Static filled the bridge, then cleared into a voice. It sounded human, but wrong somehow. Too precise, like someone reading from a script written in a language they barely understood. You came. The humans came. We knew you would. Only you could. This is Commander Saracen of the Terran Defense Fleet, Sarah spoke clearly. Identify yourself. We are the preserved. The last survivors of the civilization that came before. We sent the message because we cannot fight. Our creators made us too perfect, too logical. We can only watch and record and remember. Your creators? Dr. Tanaka leaned forward, fascinated. Who were they? The first ones. The species that seeded this galaxy with life before the harvesters came. We are all that remains of their legacy. We have waited here for 3 million years, hoping someone would develop the traits needed to stop what is coming. The view screen flickered to life, showing a structure ahead. It was massive, a station that could have housed Earth's entire population with room to spare. But it was clearly damaged, great sections torn away as if something had taken bites out of reality itself. That's where you are? Sarah asked. That is where we preserve our knowledge. Come. Dock at the central bay. We will show you what you need to know. We will show you how to fight. The Archive of Lost Civilizations. The docking bay was empty but pristine. No dust, no decay, despite the preserved's claims of waiting for millions of years. The crew of the Defiant moved through corridors lit by lights that had burned since before humanity existed. They found the preserved in a massive chamber. At first, Sarah thought they were looking at people, then she realized the truth. These were machines, but unlike any artificial intelligence humanity had created. They looked almost human, almost alive, but something essential was missing. You have no emotions, Dr. Tanaka observed. The first ones removed such things from our programming, one of the preserved explained. They believed logic alone would keep us safe. They were wrong. Show us the harvesters, Sarah demanded. Show us how to fight them. The chamber transformed. Holographic images filled the space, showing the galaxy as it had been millions of years ago. Thousands of civilizations, countless species, all thriving and advancing. Then the harvesters came. Sarah watched in horror as world after world went dark. The harvesters weren't ships or weapons in the traditional sense. They were something else, something that existed in multiple dimensions simultaneously. They consumed life not just physically, but conceptually, erasing species from reality itself. The first ones tried to fight, the preserved continued. They used logic, strategy, superior technology. Nothing worked. The harvesters adapted to every tactic, learned from every battle. In the end, the first ones chose to seed life throughout the galaxy and hope that eventually, something different would evolve. Something the harvesters could not predict. Why us? Marcus asked. Why humans? Because you are illogical. Because you fight when you should flee. Because you hope when you should despair. The harvesters cannot understand you, and what they cannot understand, they cannot perfectly counter. The hologram shifted, showing tactical data. Weak points in the harvester formation. Timing windows. Energy frequencies that might disrupt their feeding process. This is what you need, the preserved said. But information alone will not win. You must do something we cannot. What's that? Sarah asked, though she was beginning to understand. You must be willing to die. Not as a calculation, not as an acceptable loss percentage, but as a conscious choice to sacrifice everything for those who come after. That is the weapon the first ones never possessed. That is what makes you dangerous. The impossible plan. The crew gathered in the Defiance briefing room. Dr. Tanaka presented the data the Preserved had provided, translating alien mathematics into something humans could use. The harvesters exist partially outside normal space, she explained. They use dimensional gates to travel and feed. If we can disrupt those gates at the right moment, we might be able to trap them between dimensions. How do we disrupt something that exists outside reality? Patterson asked. By doing something completely irrational, Dr. Tanaka replied. By flying a ship directly into their dimensional gate while detonating a singularity bomb. The explosion won't kill them, but it will force them to exist fully in our dimension. Then they become vulnerable. The room fell silent. Everyone understood what this meant. The ship that carried the bomb wouldn't survive. The crew would die instantly. So we need a suicide mission, Marcus said quietly. Someone has to volunteer to not come home. No, Sarah stood up. We all volunteer. Every ship we can spare makes the same run. Multiple detonations, multiple gates disrupted. We force the harvesters into our reality in dozens of places simultaneously. Then the fleet can engage them. Commander, Rodriguez protested, that would mean losing half our ships. Thousands of people. I know, Sarah replied. But if we don't, billions die. Every species, every world. Everything. Patterson nodded slowly. When I was young, my grandfather told me about the old wars. About soldiers who threw themselves on grenades to save their friends. I never understood it then. But I do now. The message home. Sarah recorded a message for Earth. For the Council. For everyone who would remember them. This is Commander Chen. By the time you receive this, we will have engaged the harvesters. Many of us will not return. Perhaps none of us will. But we do this willingly, not because we lack fear, but because we refuse to let fear make our choices. She paused, gathering her thoughts. The other species call us reckless. They say we don't know when to quit. They're right. We don't quit when logic says we should. We don't surrender when the odds turn against us. We keep fighting because that's what humans do. We hope when hope seems foolish. We believe when belief seems naive. To those who follow us, remember this. You are the descendants of people who looked at impossible odds and laughed. You carry the legacy of every human who chose to stand when standing seemed stupid. Never forget what makes us human. Never lose the capacity to care more about others than ourselves. And never, ever, stop fighting for what matters. Chen out. The final battle. The harvesters arrived exactly when the Preserved predicted. The fleet was ready. 27 ships, each loaded with singularity bombs, each crewed by volunteers who had said their goodbyes. Sarah stood on the bridge of the Defiant, watching the harvesters materialize. They were beautiful in a terrible way, like storms made solid, like the death of stars given form. All ships, she transmitted. This is it. Remember, we don't need to destroy them. We just need to hold them here long enough for the others to evacuate. We are the shield. We are humanity's answer to the void. Weapons armed, Marcus reported, his voice steady despite everything. Engines at full, Rodriguez added. All stations report ready, Patterson finished. The harvesters advanced, reality bending around them. They moved like sharks through water, graceful and deadly. Behind them, space itself seemed to die. For Earth, Sarah whispered. Then louder, all ships, engage. 27 vessels accelerated toward certain death. They flew in patterns that made no tactical sense, dodged in ways that defied prediction, acted with the beautiful irrationality that only humans could achieve. The harvesters tried to counter, tried to predict, tried to understand. They couldn't. How do you predict someone who doesn't care about surviving? How do you counter opponents who value victory over life? One by one, the ships reached their targets. One by one, singularity bombs detonated inside dimensional gates. One by one, pieces of the harvesters were forced into normal space, where conventional weapons could finally hurt them. The Defiant was the last to make its run. Sarah watched her crew work with perfect coordination, everyone knowing their role, no one hesitating. "It's been an honor," she told them. "The honor was ours, Commander," Marcus replied. They hit the gate at full speed. For a moment, Sarah saw everything. She saw the dimensional barriers breaking. She saw the harvesters trapped, confused, vulnerable. She saw the fleet behind them, firing with everything they had. Then she saw nothing at all. 1 year later. Station Epsilon 9 had a new monument. It listed 3,000 names. 3,000 people who had flown into the void and not returned. But their sacrifice had worked. The harvesters had been destroyed, torn apart by the combined firepower of 47 species working together for the first time in galactic history. The young pilot who had once asked about hope stood before the monument, now a commander herself. Beside her, Dr. Tanaka's apprentice studied the mathematics that had saved civilization. An old Marine's grandson wore the uniform proudly, carrying on the family tradition. "They saved us all," a Crothery diplomat said, his crystalline form reflecting the monument's light. "We thought violence was primitive. We were wrong. Sometimes, the willingness to fight is the most civilized choice of all." A Velm child touched the monument with small fingers. "Tell me again about the humans who didn't run." Her parent smiled. "They were the ones who taught us that fear is not weakness. That hope is not foolishness. That sometimes, the most logical action is to do something beautifully, impossibly illogical." Above the station, new ships launched daily. Human ships, carrying not just humans, but volunteers from every species. The Galactic Defense Fleet, they called it. A navy built on the principles the Defiant had demonstrated. Never surrender. Never quit. Never lose hope. Somewhere in the void, the Preserved watched and recorded. They had no emotions, could not feel pride or joy or satisfaction. But if they could, they would have smiled. The first one's gamble had paid off. The galaxy had found its defenders. And they called themselves human. The end.